Calvin T. Mann, leading EMIY, served over 20,000 youth through speaking, coaching, and mentoring. He has inspired us for years. Welcome to EMIY TV Podcast with your host, Calvin T. Mann, the Encourager.
Hey, this is what we do. It's that time for the EMIY TV Podcast. Right, and we're coming to you live by myself. How you doing, sweetie?
Great.
Good. So today I really wanted to get into this conversation. We seem to only make this thing about violence, what they can't do, right? And how our boys, how boys are just the absolute worst, you know. We don't know what's wrong with them. You know, we didn't heard it all, right? So, first of all, my name is Calvin T. Mann. I'm the host of EMIY TV. I'm the host of EMIY TV with live broadcast, and I just got a dad called in who's very happy about number 82 at the University of Kentucky. And so, I just, had to answer that call because I didn't want him to let him know I love him and I appreciate him. And he got off, right? But we are excited because we have great news. We have some great outcomes, right, so to speak, right? And that for me is everything. Because many times we have, you have a lot of people who have this basically organic way or experience, right? They do things. This is just where it is, regardless. This is how they are. They're meticulous and everything, right? And so, first of all, I want to give a shout out to all the men, all the practitioners, all the men who are working with boys, right? And I'm talking fraternities. I'm talking male mentoring groups, right? We can go on and on and on, right? If these groups, these men, were not doing the work, this world would be in total chaos. So I want to make that clear. Again, there are a number of men. I can start with Ray Winans. I can start with Otis Bellinger. I can start with Boys to Men Youth Mentoring. I can start with Jason Wilson. I can start for the Institute of Isuzu. However, I always mess that name up, with Teferi Brent and their mentoring program. The Qs and their mentoring program, the Alphas, the Kappas, their mentoring program, the hundreds of mentoring programs across the country. My brother in Alabama, in Birmingham, Alabama, mentoring program, right, who grabbed young men. Rest in peace, the brother out of Highland Park, Brother White, who passed away doing this work. Right, we oftentimes forget painstakingly how these men give their lives, make a sacrifice for the culture, but yet they're thrown in with the worst of the culture. When they see a man, they don't even know what type of man this really is, and we automatically put him in a failed position. So I wanted to give it up to those men to start out, right? And while I'm standing here, I can tag them, you know what I mean? And tell them, Andre Nichols, also school, and the things he do for boys. Man, it's so many, right? And Mark Watts out there, Mark Friday, the principal. Like, I can go on of the men that that deal with young men, right, and help them be successful. And yet, these men can get up and walk right out the door, and every day is like Groundhog Day for us. Because every day we walk out the door knowing and feeling what is being spoken about our youth. We don't like to watch the news because what is happening. Now, last week, Monica said, when you're out of order, it creates disorder, and disorder creates more out of order. So with that being the case, we're out of order. It is amazing when you look into a home and it's a man and a woman and there's cooperation. Something happens, good, the kid is right. But it's also amazing when you look at a man and woman and he's faced with, boy, bye, you ain't no good. Well, the boy, the kid, sees that negativity, that toxicity that we have for our boys. And I really wanted to be clear. Without these men, the practitioners, the psychiatrists that work with black boys, without these men, Brother Allen, who works with boys, without these men, again, our world would be in total chaos. We're faced with, and we're often shown or vilified about our children so we could form, shape, and describe a negative opinion about black boys, because that black boy then has to grow through that to become a black man. Then he has to grow through that to become a husband. And possibly by the time he gets through all of that, he becomes a father. If it's order, right? If it's the original order, the man meets the girl, they get together, the family knows each other. Wow, look what we got here. Next thing you know, the family takes off and legacy is beginning, right? If that is the case. But what has happened is that the vilification has wore down. And so now in the music, you hear all these things. Our boys are being distracted from this system, so the system can take advantage of the boy, the man, the husband, the father. And our boys are super. It is amazing that when a boy falls out of the womb, he in a two-parent household, he's different. It's amazing when a boy falls out of the womb and everything around him is uplifting, inspiring. He can read, he can do all these things. It is also, there's nothing more amazing when a boy is able to walk and fall out of the womb and see the species that he was listening to from the womb that looks like him, sounds like him, walks like him, talks like him. So our boys are dead deprived, but it goes deeper, right? And that's where I'm going to go today, because I think it's important that we share the knowledge, right? It's so important that we put out some of the knowledge, but our boys are not criminals. I want that to be clear. Our boys are not baby daddies. Our boys are not rapists. Our boys are not murderers. Our boys are not villains. Our boys are inventors, encouragers, inspirers, preachers, lovers, beautiful people. They become fathers who are concerned about the neighborhood. They become men who get involved. Our boys become men, husbands, and fathers when the right environment is set in place. Environment is key to our boys. I said just Saturday, Monica said, we feed the system. We feed the system, our children, on a daily, to the point that our men and women are number one in the incarceration rate. We feed the system by constantly playing the victim In my opinion, this is my opinion. So if anybody got something against it, you got plenty of time to speak up. Shout out to the brothers in the room, Dr. William Byron Reese and Fred Wilson. Listen, our boys have every right to become inventors, as that's what we are and were and still is. One of my guys invented something, and I'm trying to convince his parents to get him a patent lawyer, but he has invented something that will change the game. Right? He's on his way to the University of Michigan. They are surrounding him, the same thing. See, that paperwork is real. They like paperwork. You can't play emotions with that paperwork. You can't, right? So our boys are born into a system. Let's be clear. When you see the statistics all around the country, in particular, Michigan has probably about 7 to 8 cities on the murder list. It involves who? Black boys. When you go into the different inner cities across this country, you can go to Baltimore, you can go to D.C., you can go to L.A., what does it involve? Black boys, right? But, what has happened is that the system may always experimented on the black. Then here come the white boys, and now you see that the violence has been perpetrated all across the board. So our boys, all boys, are in trouble, and they're using violence as a response to things, right? Majority of the mass shooters are white boys, right? Majority of the drive-by shooters are black boys. Both of those boys have something in common. They're dying by suicide at rapid rates. Also, those boys have in common, they have high drug usage. Right? But I'm gonna keep it at the environment, because I think it's important. I think it's important that we talk about how important the environment for which our sons, our boys, reside in. Right? And I'm gonna give you this statistic that's real. Because it's a very heavy subject, right? And I always start with this because it's important for me to start with this. And I'm telling you, this is the solution. Healthy fatherhood is the solution. You got to get out of the system, and we got to start putting our boys into the system, because our boys turn into bad men who turns in more deeper into the system. And because of that, our children do not have fathers because of the incarceration rate. This system is eating off of our boys. They're not eating off the men. They're eating off the boys. Because the boys is where all the damage is is occurring. And so by the time you go through the system, you're in the juvenile system, the dropout, get kicked out of school system. You're in the my daddy ain't at home. You're in the I don't know who my father is system. You're in the system of foster care. You in the system being kicked out of school, out the daycare by black daycares, white daycare, doesn't matter. That boy is the first to be removed for daycare. When we talk about our boys in a negative light, we have to be inclusive of our responsibility in the destruction of the male. And so we're going to get into it. So I'm going to start with the environment. The one thing that I know in studying, and I'm constantly studying this phenomenon of men and boys, men, husbands, and fathers. It's not a day that I won't go by that I don't research, read, go deeper, have a book, get an understanding, get a study. Like, this is something that's constant. It's 2 a.m, 3 a.m. It's something that rolls me over out of my sleep. I'm going at it to have the information because I want to know how to impact even further into the society. So I'm going to pause right there. If you can put up for me, Monique, EMIY Apparel. We have launched our own apparel to go get our money so we can do more. So we're taking our apparel to the for-profit marketplace so we can get the money so we can do more, because it is very tiring to have to fight to do good. It's very tiring. It's very tiring. So, yep, EMIY Apparel, APPAREL.com. EMIYapparel.com. We launched today, and so that's what we're going to do, and that's what people are going to be getting from me. Majority. We're going to roll back and give this to you. But the environment. So a child is born. This was a lyric. A child is born with no state of mind, blind to the ways of mankind. Right. So the blind to the ways of mankind is, when he was saying that, he was talking about a fatherless boy. He was talking about a fatherless boy. Why? Because he has no ways of understanding what mankind is. His examples is foolishness. We have pushed in front of our children, right, what the system wanted us to. I say this all the time, and when we talk about environments, let's talk about reading. The reading environment for a boy. So Friday, when you saw us going down 8 Mile, right, the RV, we literally was headed. Well, I think it was in the afternoon, so I was headed to my brother's. But that Friday, we were out at PBS. At the table, we were giving away my book, right? The kids had to spin the little thing. You know, Heather got it all rigged up. You got to spin this little thing. If it land on book, you get it. Up to the table comes a couple. They have a 4-year-old son. And the 4-year-old son was reading. Here, take this. I fell in love with the kid because I said, if we teach our children how to read by the age of 4, this would be a completely different conversation. Right? But that's not it. See, we put money over legacy. We put money over our children. We said and spoke the things that we couldn't have. I remember as a child where, you know, when my parents split up, we fell into the poverty, but we just couldn't fall into the poverty mindset. We accepted what was happening, but we were already locked in to being different. We were locked in because that was what was in us. Our environment to be able to create. I got to run out the house in my underwear. I got to do what I wanted to do. I got to work at 8. I got to do all these things and was supported. Today is the exact opposite. We make the kids stay at home and the parent is in the streets getting high, getting blown. And that's just one thing. That's not all, right? The neglect, the pain, the trauma. These things shape the environment for a child. So a child, boy or girl, the only difference is the girl, the mother, she's usually with the mother. The system did that on purpose. That is a slavery move that continues to happen with the system to marginalize, to reduce you, because out of order means your kids are going to be out of order, and it's a good chance they're either going to die, go to prison, right, or be illiterate. This is what the system is counting on. And so then if you can't make it through the poverty, we got this foster care sitting here, which is loaded. The foster care system is loaded with children. But our boys need men, right? And so where are the men? Most of the time, the brothers be like, you know, I'm out the way. You see what I'm saying? I'm out the way. That's what they say. Say, how you doing, brother? I'm out the way. No, you got to get in the way. You got to get in the way so our boys get out of this violent behavior. You got to get in the way, but it's such a repetitive thing, right? If the dad is not in the house, that's the beginning of failure. Now, right now, somewhere in this state, I said, you know, it's a lot of brothers out here single, right? And they play that I'm a queen game. You know, oh, they go to queen, and they sleeping with 19 of them, right? And she can't get She can't get one to be committed. So she in her position. Why? Because she didn't have a father either. So she doesn't even understand what it's like to be with a real man. She can't even hear him. So she can't even hear his protection when he say don't. The brother just put out the video the whole night. The sisters don't even want to hear you, so they can't hear you even if you tell them to watch out before they walk right into a wall. But the problem is because the system gave you this formula. The formula was, we're going to put you in charge of all the kids, regardless of the situation. Then we're going to put you on 60 Minutes. And when we interview you in 60 Minutes, you will say you don't need no man. Why? The reason why you don't need no man is because the government is your father. That's the Parent Protect Act. The government decided that they was going to play the father to black children. They decided this. Foster the child support process was not even created for you. It was not created for black people. White men were walking away from their children. That's why child support was created. It wasn't created for black men. We just fell into it because it fell right into the feminist movement. But we didn't realize that while we're teaching and speaking despair over our boys, we're putting them in the foster care, the juvenile, the process, because guess what? I can't focus. I don't even know how to run a budget. I don't even know how to run a house. All I know is that I got this thing between my legs and I want to do something with it. And then what does that do? You can't teach the kids, so the boy is not getting nothing. And then for you players who walk away, you know what I mean? I got to tell you, I almost caught a stalking case to see about mine. You understand? It was my mother and my sister told me to back off. I'm at the door with that thing. You run my son. You see what I'm saying? So it's those things that is part of the system. So even back in the slavery day, when they sent the boy away, right? They sent the father away, took him from his kids. They left him with who? The mother. Mm-hmm. Now she was raped, but he was murdered. Mm-hmm. This is all the system. So the system changed in the 60s. The system changed in the 70s. But what was the target? The black boy. Why? Because I, the black male, am so creative that I can create hip hop, I can create tunnels, I can create cars, I can create airplane engines, I can create perm, I can create air conditioners, I can create. I told you about the brother in Boston that created the whale hook, the Temple whale hook that changed the whaling industry. It was a brother that changed the whaling industry. We don't push those things in front of our black boys. Well, that's what we do. We talk about that at our mentoring program, right? Yeah. It's so important for you to have identity. So the boy doesn't have any identity to the point that the only place he gets any kind of love is if he get away with a crime on NBC, ABC, CBS. So he looks at that. But we're talking environment. This is how bad the environment is. ACEs. Adverse childhood experiences. A boy born, when they talk about his frontal cortex lobe, right? We have a tendency to leave him in nurturing environments. To make a man, it has to be a man's environment. So you can't make a man in an over-nurturing environment. Men, by nature, we nurture. We get no credit for nurturing. But we nurture. Notice how our daughters adores us. I love my dad. We're nurturing. So we can cancel that bull. But in the process, the boy has to be shaped. So my conversation with my son is different than the conversation that I have with my daughter. Our boys are not getting that conversation. So he has no respect. And he's 10 and 11 and 12. He's already manipulating. He started manipulating the mama coming out the womb. And if she there by herself, he really going to work. And so this becomes a skill that he has developed to his failure. Because you can't manipulate your way through life. You just can't. So you got to have some principles. To understand, to be a man, you got to have some principles. Right? Got to have it. A boy goes into the bathroom if he's in an over-nurturing environment, he'll go in the bathroom at 5 years old to sit down and pee, because that's all he's seen. He may not listen to you, but he will imitate you. Right? And he may not listen, but he will imitate you. So now what happened? You got all of these, you got the tough society, right? Our women, masculine energy out front. So you got terms like boy bye. This is how you talk to men. You can't talk to men this way. You have no respect. You're out of order. And because you do that, this is why you remain single, alone, embattled in relationships, because of how you talk to that boy. I'm in a group text. My man texted me. He said, man, I paid the lady $10 to stop talking to her son that way. The man, he emotional, trying to see his son. Then when he can't see his son, you turn that man into a killer, because his only chance is his boy. He'll come through for his daughter, but it's really his only chance to repair anything that he's done. I don't have to vicariously live through him, but to repair so my son, my boy, does not repeat my failures, I have to be present. And what has happened is clear. We believe that men have no value, and that's what the system wanted you to do. And because you do that to the man, to the husband, to the father, you're destroying your boys. So your boys are ending up in prison, dead, murdered, breaking and entering, human trafficking. This is where your boys are. And we are doing anything for money and not enough for legacy. But the boy, back to the environment. So we talk about the frontal cortex of the boy. Isn't it amazing when the father is present in the boy's life? He can be amazing. I just said it. The 4-year-old boy walked up. He was like, oh, my man said he can read. He can read anything. He's been reading for the longest. Really? Yeah. Here, give him anything. He grabbed it and he read everything that was in his face. He was 4 years old. Big words. You hear me? Not little words. Big words. He read the words that was literally in his face at 4 years old, right? Guess what was standing there that makes my point true? The daddy was standing right there. Well, he was standing right there. It was amazing. The mom was right there. She didn't say much of nothing. She said, oh, yeah, he been reading. The daddy did most of the talking. Uh-oh. Wait a minute. And then when the daddy got finished talking, she talked. And they were so happy. Right? Oh, and he's got that book. And in the book, guess what? He's going to see his mother and his father. He's going to read about two parents. This is going to ignite that frontal cortex lobe where he thinks he can do anything. Right? We're sending our children to school to fight. The trauma that we create at home, that environment shapes the decision making of our boys. So they don't want to be home. There was a recent video. The boy was running through the yard, tried to break in somebody's house. My man came out the door with that thing on him. He had the gun too. And he said, listen, young brother, I just want to talk to you. Put the gun down. We can talk this out. I don't want nothing bad to happen to you. I'm going to put my gun down. You put your gun down. You come on in and tell me what's wrong. He said, what's wrong with you? He said, my brother's in the hospital. See? So the only way he thought he could help his brother was put his life at risk. What do they say about black men? They say, we're not protective. That's bull. Black men die every day on the pretenses of a woman. Every day. 80% of the men in prison went to prison for something involving to impress the woman. Hands down. See, but we don't say that. right? We just say y'all ain't no good. Then we tell the boy goes into the class. The girl walks out of the house. She walks into mom. She sees her auntie, right? This is when she walked through the school door. She sees her mom. She sees her auntie. She sees her cousin, right? So she's supported because that's her species. That's someone who can get along with her, teach her, nurture her, show her the right way. When the boy walks into school, he sees his mama, the lady down the street that don't like him, the woman that cussed him out at the store, the girl online. That's what he sees because there are no men really in the schools. Why? Because the system has incarcerated our men, because the system has us out of order, that they're eating off of our culture nationally. You can start we saw it on TV, you can start a funeral home. So now they're teaching kids about the funeral. Who was 90% of the people you're getting ready to bury is who? Black boys in the inner city. The morgue is full of them. But we want to talk about the daddy, right? You say the daddy ain't there. Then we get deeper into the conversation of how many times he had to go to court and be denied and games played and creep back and we don't have the tools when we don't have dad. A healthy father is always more valuable than any politician, any preacher, any governor, any doctor. Fatherhood is the answer. But because you breed it out, the notion, the value of the father, the boy remains in trouble. Even when we talking about the mentoring program, bring them to the mentoring program. Like I said, we shout out to all these men that do this work, right? Bring them to the mentoring program. They want to bring the boy to the mentoring program. They want him to come in for $0, and then you half-ass committed to him anyway. Right? And then, then you half-ass committed to him but the girl, she's in dance, $1,500. She's at the cheerleading team, $2,500. All of that, she get all of that. I literally witnessed a mom, the son was going to Michigan State with us, and the daughter had practice on the east side. And I literally witnessed her drop the daughter off, call and tell us he not going. He going home. I'm tired. I can't make it. The boy already was an IEP kid, right? When I went to the school, you ain't put that on the paper. I get to the school, he's an IEP kid. Oh my God. In love with what we do. Why? Because he could be away. It was his space. Crushed him. See? But we don't talk about that. We don't talk about the times when the boy wants to go live with the father, he's denied because, no, you can't go live with your daddy. Your daddy ain't so and so and so. We crush them. What's wrong with the black boys? They're being crushed daily by the environment for which they are born in. That's the problem. We are doctors, lawyers, and inventors, but look at the stuff he has to go through just to be able to read a book. And then dad ain't off the hook, right? You out here having babies think it's funny, crawling in and out, telling everybody but you can't be accountable until your ass is broke down. When you broke down, you trying to avoid the system. I ran into a brother at the gas station. He tried to tell me, I said, brother, I'm sorry, I can't feel sorry for you, brother. He said, what you mean? I said, these are decisions that you made. This is why you're standing here. You reaping. This is what you did to yourself. You're not standing here because, what's the name? Where's your kids? What did you do for them? Right? So, a lot of times, Heather say I'm a little too hard. She like, you're just too hard. you're just too straightforward. you, you don't know how to, you don't know how to, take it easy. But I've become much better in my diplomacy. Why? Because I don't owe nobody nothing. I've given to the culture. I don't have to do this not one bit, not another day. My man Otis, he don't have to help another kid. Teferi, he don't have to help another kid at all. We got 30 years into the culture of giving to our boys, to our youth. We don't owe nobody. And I think that needs to be clear. We do this because God did this to us. For me, that boy represents me and my childhood. And I want him to have a chance because I know there's some dream killers out here. And most of the dream killers is at the womb, at the parent. We killing these boys. They can't get even a quality start. And then it's the daddy's fault. It's the white man. It's racism. I've been dealing with racism my whole life. One thing for sure, it ain't stopped me. Why the hell is it stopping you? What's the difference? Is it literacy? When they said that there's a certain percentage of, right, the recent thing came out that 70% of the kids today, right now, black children, are in the hands of two parents. Right? I didn't go into the study. I just seen the little link. I saw it. They put it out. I took it and ran with it just like anybody. Ooh, yeah, look, we got some good news, right? Then when you go to the statistics and you see what's impacting, right? Then when you sit in some of these rooms and you listen and you're watching, right? Something as simple as, we make something as simple as walking across the street. It has to be in paperwork. So it has to be you walk across this, before you walk across the street, you got to make sure that you look both ways. Then you got to make sure your shoes is tied. And then you got to make sure that you stop, say hello to everybody before you cross the street. All that's got to be in the paperwork. Then when you're in the middle of the street, you got to take an observation of what's in the middle of the street. And as soon as you get on the other side of the street, you got to put in the paperwork and send it back to you and tell me how simple that was for you to cross the street. Simple 10 steps to get across the street, but you got to write it in the paperwork, right, to satisfy, because the paperwork is how racism continues to exist as well. Right? Because I can get to information, I can take what you got, I can take your concept, I can take your idea. That is what is happening to our boys. See? So when we talk about, essentially, when we talk about why I can't, where the men at? The men, they right here. But y'all expect them to accept that. And y'all expect them to be this. So our boys are not getting, Dr. Warren Farrell said, the dad-deprived boys essentially is the problem in today's society. And I'll add to that and explain to you that the dad-deprived boys makes up the mental health issues. And the dad-deprived girls. It's coming back every time I study. You got to tell me. You mean to tell me that this boy, when he just has a father, a mentor, a male figure, the proper guidance from a man, he's different. And here's another statistic, right? Because this is how you know the system is eating off of it. A single father is just as potent as a two-parent household, whereas the only issue that is worse is the single mother-led household. That is the system setting up the failure so they can eat off of the children. That's a system. That is exactly how the system, and they count on you going against each other, since the Moynihan report revealed that we went at each other even when we were together. That was the one thing, and they needed certain things, and they took all those things away and created everything that you see today. We were together. Lyndon B. Johnson did a speech where he talked about majority. He was speaking into an existence. Majority of the black homes, right? They are single household led. That's what made him create the welfare. Right? So the welfare, right? Because he said in the room, we're going to give them this, they'll never be the same. The politicians been playing, all of them. Red, white, and blue. You hear me? They play too much. And usually that black child is the face across the world for 1 million different organizations. They're constantly trying to convince you that you are marginalized. And the boy has always been the target. And the reason why the boy is the target is because the boy solves problems when he becomes a man, husband, and a father. We know this. So here's some good information that you can take with you, right? Our mentoring program starts on September 17th. After the party, we're going to get out. Boogie nights. You're more than welcome to come. Monique, we got Focus Hope. We're going to dance. Boogie.
That's the flag.
Yeah. And we start September 17th with our mentoring, 8 to 24. If it's 5, we take 5. If it's 25, we take the 25. But your commitment is going to be in that building, right? We are committed to the restoration of family. It's what we do, right? And we're having a lot of success with it. And if we have to, do it this way for a few more years, then we do it this way for a few more years. But that means that goes some more good boys that came out of EMIY, right? And there's another family that just came back together to understand how important. And one of the conversations we're gonna have this year, right? Because it was put in my lap to do so, is we're gonna talk extensively about co-parenting. Why co-parenting and having the father involved and really getting the father to listen. But we have a lot of fathers whose mothers, when they were boys, did everything for them, and they count on a woman to do everything, and she's struggling. There are a lot of you married to men like that. They don't want to take care of themselves. They don't want to, get up, wash up, clean up, face up, don't want to brush their teeth, just want to smoke weed, play video games. He's 25, 26, he's a father. He not understanding that dynamic cannot be the rest of his life. When you become a father, everything changes. No matter how you look at it, your life must change when you become a father. It's that simple. If you want the good outcome. Now, you can still play she don't like me, she won't let me do this. You can play that game. But your child, she's or he is going to know you by your fruit. Never let somebody have so much control of your child that they can convince them not to love you. Never. Never. My nephew put on his page today, he said, I'm going to tell my daughter, make sure you get with a man that shows you he's consistent in at least 2 areas. And whatever those 2 areas is, make sure they're 2 good quality areas. One could be he go to work every day. That's a good quality. He's consistent. One could mean he come home, then he works on cars every day. That's a quality. That's consistent. You got to find something in these men that is consistent. Our boys, right now, our boys, it's a house full of boys right now that probably hygiene is off the charts. Probably being cussed out, punched in the chest, told him he just like his daddy. Here's what we have to do. Every morning, when you get in the car with your children, the first thing is, don't go to the junk food store. Fix your kid a sandwich. I don't care if it's a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Fix that child something that the brain can use so the brain will work in school. Another thing is when the child comes home, spend at least 1 hour sitting without the noise in the house. Slow everything down. Let's read together. Take the quality time that you have. Don't get high. Don't get blowed. Spend that quality time teaching the child. Give them at least 1 hour of your time out of the day. Make sure that when your child is 1 and 2 years old, that you begin teaching your child to read. You allow them to be inventive, and you don't buy into, I can be anything I want to do. I can act any way I want to act. Don't teach them that. Teach your boys to be leaders. Celebrate when they give you leadership quality. Clap when he takes his own initiative to clean up and fix up without being told. Inspire, encourage him when he takes the garbage out. Let him know that you care. You ain't got to hold him and kiss him all day and talk about, oh, you mama's baby. You always going to be my baby. We're raising adults, not children. Let them know how important his success is to the legacy of the family. Let him know how important his last name is. Boy, you a man. My kids, they know that. My nieces and nephews, right? We made sure that at least you are established to your legacy, your last name. You're a man. Boy, you look just like one of them McNeils. Boy, you a boy, them Morgans, boy, them boys. You see? You want them Davis boys? Oh, yeah. Why? Because the last name is true to its identity. We're getting ready to bury my Uncle David. My Uncle David was when he came into town, he was the only one I saw more than twice that checked on his brother's kids. Now, my brothers and sisters might have a different story. That's the one I got, right? My Uncle David was a, 4-star, 5-star general, something incredible like that. Lifer in the Air Force, the whole 9. Kids is amazing, great. And what is common to their life? Order. The sons have wives, and they have children. What's the common order with all of us? My brother just got married Saturday. As a man. He didn't get married like, oh, I'm dependent on her. Right? He got married as a man. So she could be who she could be. It was beautiful. Right on the little roll down the aisle was, I'm marrying my best friend. Do we even know how to get a relationship to friendship? Without you having to be so super sexually, you're the greatest sexual performer. Okay, after the sexual performance, what are you like? Well, I don't do nothing. What you mean? Yeah, like, what you gonna do? Oh, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and right? I guess I go to the next girl, right? That's because that's your environment. You ain't picking up no books. You ain't learning no new steps. That's what's wrong with our boys. We'd tell them, I remember my mama used to say to my brother all the time, "You're going to be my Isaiah Thomas." And I used to say, that's a lofty thing to put on a kid. It's stages in life. Now, she didn't mean, she wasn't harmful, because my mama, she'd fight with the best of them, right? And she ain't play that. She was a mama, right? And everybody came to the house, but she wasn't about that, you coming over there and she gonna do all that nurturing. No, because she had brothers. She already knew what to do. She'd tell you, get your ass out the house quick. Get your ass from up under me. Go outside somewhere. Go tackle a tree or something. Go play. Don't sit up under me. But we couldn't embarrass her. See? We couldn't embarrass her. That was the one thing. So that was established. But guess what was behind her? A 6'5" granddaddy. If she called him, it's a different ball game. When she called my dad, we all ended up bald-headed. Oh, yeah, I'll be over there in a minute, and cuff all our hair off. We thought we was Tito and the Jackson 5. You know what I mean? We on the block singing and everything. Yeah, mama ain't like something. She called daddy, all our hair gone. All that. Because she wanted to put perm kits in her hair. My daddy ain't like that. So, of course, he was glad to come cut them perms out. You see? So, we just got to get to an understanding that boys are very valuable. That boy becomes a man, husband, and a father. You have a responsibility as a parent to love him with action and guidance, not with all that emotion. Punching him in the chest. We got to stop that. So, with that being said, I can talk about boys all day. There's a lot of information, cognitive stuff that goes along with this. Our boys are in some horrendous environments. And you parents have created horrible environments for our children to go to school. My kids go to school, they fight. They cussing each other out like they're adults. Gotta stop that. That's not a good tool. It's not a good brand. It doesn't really help us, right? You yelling and screaming, right? They picking you up and all of that. Yeah, they don't have no right to do that, but we got to get off the TV. We got to get our boys and our children out of these foster cares. We got to make some sacrifices. These are real issues where, and you got to understand that the eating, the bad foods is helping contribute to your issues. Eating bad foods. They said in this area, in Michigan, we buy more cognac than anybody in the world. If we buy more, wouldn't this look like this? I don't know what's up. I'm just saying. So I'm saying that there is a level of success that comes with sacrifice for the children, in particular our boys. You have to teach them. Boys must be taught. You cannot assume with a boy or a man. They have to be taught. You cannot assume. The brain requires reading. You cannot assume someone is going to have success without reading. Because without reading, it's going to be very hard for you to function in this life, in this world. Because this is how the upper people are able to get away with things. It's in the paperwork. So you got to be able to read it. Shout out to Dr. Nichols for teaching that there's a difference. and the difference is in the paperwork. I was so blessed to hear somebody say it, because I always thought, like, these people love paperwork, right? They love to put it on paper, and they want to see it to make it, because that's an advantage. And they dumb down education to get the very results that you see today as an acceptable culture for piss poor candidates for president. Both presidents got character issues, but that 45 is horrible. But he has a level of people who's been downgraded in education and support him. Republicans have always attacked education. This was the results. If you look at this information on red cities that's written by Republicans, you're going to find a lot of poverty. That's what they like, because they can take advantage of it. And they use it on the fake principle that they care about people, and they don't. These politicians got to get themselves together. They don't. But for our boys, I'm telling you, get your boys together from the rooter to the tutor. Make sure that your boys are prepared to enter a school door and dominate. If you want a mentoring program, go to EMIWorld.com, click initiatives, and get with our Emmy Future Leaders program. And it costs, because it's 14 weeks, and we get that work in. With that being said, put your family first. This was very powerful. Very powerful. To have this experience, knowing that I can go at you for a whole another hour. I got a lot of info, and I can walk you through some stuff you never. And I'm proud to say that my wife stay on my butt about research. So with that being said, my name is Calvin Mann. I'm the president and founder of Encourage Me I'm Young. Go to EMIApparel.com. Start comping. September 1st, I'm dropping my own version of some Detroit product. And we're going to continue to go after what we, started this whole vision in 2004. Started with a T-shirt, and a mom, wherever she is, gave me the nonprofit. You have turned me into something, and only you and God knew this is what was going to happen. So I am very grateful to the lady that gave me Encourage Me I'm Young, the nonprofit. Thank you. You guys have a great, great week. We'll see you next week. We'll be back in here to finish part 2.